I think a good CS person has a solid intuition, right, about how customers are doing. And I think also, or it warns you when your intuition is wrong, right? I think if you have a good AI, it does those two things and you're able to go into meetings with confidence without having to spend forever getting back up to speed on things. And so I think definitely, our jobs aren't going away, but they are going to be augmented quite a bit by this.
Welcome to Video Voyagers, Edge of AI. We are your hosts, Audrey.
And Rich.
And today we are celebrating the finale of our show, of the season of the show. I think it was a pretty good season. What do you think, Rich?
I think it was great.
It was fun. It was really fun having all those conversations. And we have something a little bit special for you guys today. We are going to be revisiting some of the best clips from our interviews throughout the season.
I'm really excited to be able to go over some of these. As you know, I joined the podcast probably about halfway through the season. So some of these I only heard, because I was listening. I didn't even know we had it on YouTube as well. So, it was my first time seeing some of this. And then, of course, I just heard some of these in passing. And so I'm looking forward to going back and hearing some of this stuff and, really revisiting it and seeing how it can affect anyone in customer success or customer education.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that across the board, all of our interviewees, all of our guests kind of had the same opinion when it came to AI taking our jobs, which also makes me feel a little better. That was one of the goals of this podcast, was to make AI seem less scary and kind of bring it down to earth. And yeah, across the board, they were all very positive about it. And they also all had something to say about how critical empathy is and kind of like the human touch and the human soul behind everything. And that's not something that AI can take from us. So
yeah, and it's really great to get back a bunch of these insights kind of distilled into one 30-minute episode here, or thereabouts. So I hope you guys enjoy this and get a lot out of it, and just like we did.
I hope that you'll find not only some really good information about leadership and customer success and AI, but also find that the future of AI is just a little bit less scary.
Indeed.
We're going to kick it off with a clip from episode 1 featuring Mary Poppen.
There's so much more to AI than what's being really focused on today. But it's not going to take our jobs. I think it's going to help us do our jobs better. AI has really come to the forefront as an opportunity to also change the way we work. And that's what I think we're going to see more of. One of the things we have to be really careful of is people trusting AI to the point too that there's no longer verification or validation. So there is the opportunity to run into situations where people are leveraging the wrong insight or information, because the danger is if we trust it too much without using human expertise to train it, to validate it.
I think she really touched on something, especially at the time of shooting this episode. I feel like there was a lot of talk in the industry about security because there were a lot of concerns about companies using tools like ChatGPT and then not realizing that everything that you put into there now is part of the large language model. And so you could be accidentally sending in proprietary information. And then now everybody kind of gets access to that. And I know that that's one of the things that we've been working on as well as we develop the AI integration, because that's been the chief concern, is the security risk. And so we can't be having any sort of integration if it's going to be sharing people's proprietary information.
And, I think she covered really that there's a lot more that to AI than what we're focusing on, right? I think and it could be dangerous, right? I think that's one thing that she talks about is that if we trust it too much without using human expertise to train it or validate it, really that's the premise of, half the sci-fi books out there and movies, right? Is AI and Skynet becoming self-aware and all that kind of stuff. So if our science fiction has taught us anything, it's to be careful in this situation here.
Yeah. That's why I always tell ChatGPT, please and thank you, because when the inevitable happens, they'll spare me for my politeness.
Exactly. You got to put yourself in a good position for the singularity, right? That's
I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, exactly. I, for one, welcome our new overlords.
Exactly.
All right. Next, we've got Annie Dean, and Annie Dean was a great conversation as well. Definitely worth going and checking out. Very experienced, very wise, and the things that she said. And here's what she said.
There's definitely going to be changes. Like even when graphical interfaces were really invented for web design, if you think about that, where it was like you had to have somebody do like full coding to build a website. Now you can just kind of drag and drop the pretty pictures. It's not like all those jobs went away and no one builds websites anymore. It's just different jobs. So I think it'll be similar here. Hopefully we're getting rid of the tedious, annoying parts and spend more of our time on the impactful pieces.
Yeah, that was a really good point. I hadn't even thought about that whole thing with websites, because when I was growing up, like in the late 90s, I had a physical book of how to write HTML. And so I learned how to make my own little websites. They were mostly just Sailor Moon fan websites for my fan fiction. But it was tedious. Like I had to learn a language. I had to learn how like all this coding worked and stuff. And now you can just use HubSpot or Squarespace or whoever, drag and drop. And it's not that, I mean, I'm kind of just repeating exactly what she said, but there's still a huge thriving industry of, people who design websites. It's just now they're able to design even cooler stuff and even more of them without having to go in and like code tiny little HTML lines and things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I remember, so in another area of my life, I had to manage a website for a little while and do some stuff on the back end, right? And it was WordPress, right? And I'd say WordPress is kind of like that middle ground, right? It's like where it started to get kind of accessible, but you still had to do some code and stuff, right? And it was a booger, right? Like getting anything updated. Anytime they needed any sort of change, they needed to go through like 5 different things. And now that's not the case anymore, right? I think getting rid of those tedious, annoying parts.
Yeah, it really brings it home. I feel like it makes the whole AI thing a little bit less scary. All right, Greg Daines. So Greg Daines is also known as the Churn Doctor. He is one that actually I found on YouTube when I was doing research for the company blog around like customer success and churn and how to reduce it. And I found several presentations that he'd given that were fascinating. I learned so much. And so I specifically told the podcast company that we were working with that I wanted to interview him. And so we got him for the second episode. And it is a really good episode. Highly recommend you go watch the whole thing. There's so much great information in it.
Instead of asking why do customers leave, we shifted our whole way of thinking to why do customers stay? Because it turned out if you ask customers why they leave, they give you lots of answers. I'm sure they're sincere answers, but they're incredibly diverse. But if you study customers and look at why do they stay, you actually come up with just a few things. There are not a lot of reasons customers stay. There are endless reasons why they leave, but not a lot of reasons why they stay. And if you shift your thinking from why do they leave to why do they stay, you actually figure out how to build the experiences and behaviors and processes that lead to customers getting good results. And that's actually where all the leverage is. So sort of machine learning sort of led us down this path.
What did you, as like director of customer success, did that feel relevant to you?
No, not at all. Yes, no, it really is. And obviously, Vidiate here, we're a newer company, right? We've got just a lot of green grass in front of us, right? But customers that stick around and are raving fans are the ones who are able to accomplish what they need to accomplish with Vidiate, and that's kind of the simple, why do customers stay, right? That's why that question matters so much, right? And he's right. There's not a whole lot of answers. It really is. Did they accomplish what they want to accomplish? Did it happen painlessly? Did it happen quickly? Did it happen well? Right? And if all that's the case, if they come out looking awesome, then most of the time that person's not going to churn. That company is not going to churn because this becomes a big part of their plans, of their accomplishing their goals. And so I think across the board, no matter what company you're a part of, right? Like if you are helping your customers meet their goals and making them look great in front of their bosses, like there's no reason for them to churn.
Yeah, good point.
So this is, I think, the first episode that I was in. I think I was the topic of the episode, which is, always weird and off-putting. And so, yeah, I get to watch myself here and enjoy the awkwardness.
I think one of the surprising things is which videos are most wanted, right? Most needed. We have analytics on the videos that are watched. We think that this certain tool, this certain other things that'd be super useful, but there's some stuff that's just intuitive and that people don't necessarily need a video for. And then there's stuff that you think is intuitive that turns out everybody's going and watching the video for. I think the key thing is having those analytics is huge because that's what surprised me in making the videos is which ones are actually valuable. Go and find the ones that are valuable to your customers and make sure those are awesome. If you're looking to deal with this stack of stuff, make sure those top things are the top things, right, that you work on. And everything else, it's good to have and good to have a breadth of information, but use the analytics. That's what surprised me quite a bit. I thought that everyone would watch all of our training videos. I thought every single one would get watched about the same amount of time. And it's nobody really cares about this one. It's all about this one over here.
I do want to note the different guitars. Just looking at you now and then looking at you then. Because I didn't know until recently that you swap out the guitars on your wall.
I do. Really, usually the one that's behind me is the one that I happen to be using at the next the next event that I'm doing, or wherever it is I happen to be playing that week. And so it's funny that actually made me go back and look at our data of like videos that are being watched, right? And even now, like we look at the videos that are being watched, and more of them are watched in our training than are watched in our Zendesk, right? We have a Zendesk where everybody can go and find information as needed, but a lot of them just want to be walked through, right? And so like most of our videos are watched on our training site. And then you can actually go there and see like which videos are, being watched from there. And I think it's just huge, right? Like knowing which videos are hitting the hardest too, right? So like, we can see how much people are watching them and how many people are finishing these videos or getting toward the very end, right? And so, where I'm able to see that people are at those beginning of videos, we had like 12 views of one particular video, but 11 people finished it. So I know that it's important and that it's a good video, right? And then other times you might have it where you have 1,000 views and like 3 people finished it, right? And like that kind of, I think knowing how people are interacting with your videos lets you know, okay, this is important. This is what we need to keep going with.
So this Daphne Lopes episode is actually our most watched episode on YouTube. I don't have the numbers for the actual audio version of the podcast off the top of my head, but I know that both her shorts and the full episode get the most interest by a significant amount. And this was a really good episode. We talked about a whole bunch of different things, including AI, but also some of the future of the user experience, which is a really interesting section. This particular quote is more about how humans are going to be working with AI.
What AI does really well is serve as a co-pilot and serve as like this external brain that can process a lot of information at a very quick pace. So I think it's going to make us faster at doing the things that we are already doing, and then allow space for us to be even more creative about how we do our jobs, be more human, connect at a deeper level. So I don't think our jobs are going to go away.
So, I think that's the key right now is using AI as a co-pilot and having the patience you would with like a really good early, like a employee that you're really excited about bringing on, but they're still learning, right? Like the part of the whole thing that we're, again, we're considering, softwares ourselves, right? And so one of the things about their AI is that it's supposed to essentially act as this. And I've noticed that everything that's really compelling right now is the stuff that acts as a co-pilot, that instead of taking your job, it really multiplies you, right? And I think that's where AI shines right now. Doing the menial tasks that let you do your job better, right? And let you have more insight and all that sort of thing. And I think also too, like, it allows you to be even more creative, right? Be more human, connect at a deeper level. When you're not spending all your time like trying to sift through all this data, and you actually have an AI that you can trust to give you, the background information to maybe either confirm your hunches, right? I think a good CS person has a solid intuition, right, about how customers are doing. And I think also, or it warns you when your intuition is wrong, right? I think if you have a good AI, it does those two things, and you're able to go into meetings with confidence without having to spend forever getting back up to speed on things. And so I think definitely, our jobs aren't going away, but they are going to be augmented quite a bit by this.
Yeah. And I would say on the content creation side, using AI tools has not taken my job away from me as of yet. But it has enabled me to really significantly increase my output and then also increase the quality of my output. So like, for example, starting a draft of something, whether it be copy or like a business plan or something else, it's such a pain staring at this blank screen and not really knowing where to start, or knowing that you have all of this information in your head, but you can't just like get it onto there. And being able to use a tool like, especially for me, like ChatGPT, just even sometimes I'll just talk to it like it's a friend, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where to start. This is all the information that I have. Am I missing anything, or can you organize this for me? It's really improved not only the process, but then also the quality of my output, because I'm not wasting my time, doing a bad draft first. Because if anybody who's a writer knows, like you just got to get the first draft out and it's going to be crap. And editing is kind of where the actual good writing comes from. And so these tools will take care of the bad draft for me. And then usually I'm like, I don't actually like any of what it gave me at all, but now I actually know what I want to do. And so I can just go through and edit it, and then I'm done so much faster.
Awesome.
All right. Moving on to Dave Derington, friend of the show. He used to be a professor, actually. So every time we talk, I learn so much. And we actually, this is not what this quote is about, but we both talked about ADHD a lot in that episode. And yeah, every time we end up talking, we talk about 20 different things because we both have it. And so this clip is about what AI is going to enable humans to do.
That a lot of companies are talking about as you introduce AI into the world is that it will take jobs away from people who aren't using AI. I like the sentiment, because what is indeed saying is that we have to do it now. We have to, because it's extending our humanity, it's extending our abilities to give us superpowers. It's like, the bionic man and woman, those TV shows, they've got superpowers because they've got technology that's assisting them to do more, to do better, but they're still human.
Yeah. I think I like that analogy, right? Talking about the bionic man and woman, all this stuff. So I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and back in the there's a show called Enterprise, right? Star Trek, and Enterprise is the one that's like, hey, at the very beginning of the very first Enterprise, right? It's the one with Scott Bakula. He's awesome because I think he's great. But the whole premise is like, hey, people are still kind of people, right? And like, it's only about 150 years in the future. So it's not like a crazy amount of time, right? And so they had things like transporters that were just barely getting like adopted. And people were like, I ain't gonna go in that thing. Like that thing takes you all apart and then puts you back together. You're not even human anymore. It takes your souls, right? And all this kind of stuff. Where, of course, later on in the series, it's like, oh, it's a no-brainer. You go on there because that's how you get places really quickly, and I think that's one of those things where AI is going to give us abilities, but it can also feel like it's taking away our humanity. Like it could be scary because it's a new thing, right? And so I think Dave really hit on that really well. Tools have always been what's made man able to do more of the things that we do. Early man wasn't able to go in and be the fullness of the artist or creator that they are now when they were having to spend all their energy like hunting and foraging and going and gathering, right? The first civilizations that were able to actually create art were the ones that actually were stable enough to have people with time to do that, right? And and so I have thoughts on that. I think me and Dave would have a good conversation. I think it's good that I wasn't a part of that conversation, or else it would have probably gone twice as long. So yeah. So Rachel Provan was an awesome just resource, just oozing wisdom about customer success, really. And we really enjoyed that conversation.
It's going to change all of our jobs, but I don't think we're all going to be just like out on the street selling muffins or something. It's going to enable us to do things that we weren't able to do before. It's going to enable us to focus on the things that actually need humans, the parts that I'm really interested in, the parts that require empathy, that require being good with others, the parts that require messaging. I think that a lot of the day-to-day annoying admin work might be taken by AI, but that's fine by me.
One of the things that I loved about talking with Rachel was it's so visceral, like this example of being on the street selling muffins. Like everything that she said was so descriptive and also down to earth. Like she ended up explaining stuff about customer success leadership and tied it to working out. And I just thought that was so interesting and like such a unique way of framing something, but then making it super easy to understand.
Yeah. And I think that's why, she's dead on about this, AI taking the annoying admin work, but that kind of stuff only comes from a very intelligent and relatable human mind, right? The ability to create these, ready analogies, right? That hit you in your daily life, right? Like, oh, this is something that, okay, I understand that, right? And bring it to somebody who maybe isn't a CS person, right? You are a marketing guru. If you were to tell me about some of your marketing tranches, I would not, know what to do about that. I'd be like, oh, that's really nice. You got a lot of numbers there. Some real nice numbers.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So moving on to Noah Little, who was another really good conversation, especially about customer success leadership.
I did enjoy his name.
Yeah.
I feel like his parents really, really, knocked it out of the park with that one.
Yeah. It's like they knew he was going to be well over 6 feet tall. I think he told us how tall he was.
I think everybody's experienced, maybe in America or Canada or even around the world, when something goes wrong with your cell phone or your computer and you call into AT&T, Verizon, or Sprint, and it's an automated voice messaging system. Click 1 for this, click 8 for this. And what does everybody do? Click 0 1,000 times until you reach a person. Because no matter how advanced a machine learning or a language learning model is, you want to talk to somebody so you can understand the nuances, the problems.
This was such a good point because obviously you need to get your problem solved. Like that's why you're calling. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not even about what the actual solution is. Like it's going to get fixed eventually. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen and to empathize with you and to kind of help you troubleshoot rather than just listening to a machine fixing it for you because you're frustrated.
Next one is Bianca Carr. It was a great wide-ranging conversation and, talked about a lot of really great things, definitely worth a listen as well. Yeah, this clip is amazing.
AI isn't going to take your job. Somebody who knows how to use AI will take your job. And I think we just have to think about, how do we make sure people don't get left behind? How do we mitigate the negative impacts to people and create a world in which this is a net positive?
The thing I loved about this quote, besides just the first part of that quote, which honestly I want to use everywhere, is this concept that I hadn't even considered before about leaving people behind. And she kind of laid out this potential future in which the access to these AI tools is limited only to corporations or people with the funding to be able to like pay for like a subscription service and that sort of thing. And I think that's actually something super important that more people should be talking about, is at what point and what iteration of AI does it kind of become just a utility for the rest of the world? You know, I think everybody should be able to kind of access something like that.
Indeed. And I think, you know, when they started doing moves to try to make the internet accessible, right? They have stuff right now that where they greatly subsidize the cost of internet in certain areas, right? They people with a certain income or below a certain income can get a phone that has apps and everything else on it, right? And be able to communicate out to the world, right? And I think that, even then that's here, right? Like what about people in other countries, other continents, right? And so I think it is, one of those where you don't want to do the haves and have-nots on such an important tool. I think it is important to think about that.
And then our final episode with Jeff Beaumont, such an articulate speaker, by the way. I mean, everybody was pretty articulate, but I specifically noticed like he was, especially as somebody with ADHD, and all of my words is just filled with like and then tangents and things. He was so clear, and he would give us like, okay, I've got 3 points, and then he boom, 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 he would hit all three without tangents or whatever, which is usually what I do. And I was really impressed with that.
I know you kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah, tangent about tangent.
Okay.
All right.
Is AI coming to take our jobs? I think the cool part is if we all used AI, we would have been able to skip over the pieces that we really didn't enjoy of going in, mashing data, finding tables, and to say, okay, how can we actually use this to better our customers? It wouldn't have removed our jobs. It would have helped us to remove the tedious tasks and to say, okay, now that this has come, I want to validate what this tool is telling me of how we define customer health, or I want to use this and I now want to work with our CSM so that the CSMs can really dig in and get in and say, yeah, this makes sense or doesn't make sense or whatever else. And we can have fun exploring the parts that we really want to do.
I think that's huge because, as a good CSM loves to connect with people, right? That's what they get energy from, and wants to connect with them in a way that is informed, right? And helping them do what they need to do, right? And helping them get where they need to go and seeing success stories. I see our CS team, when they're able to help somebody accomplish something, they're beaming, right? That's what, and I've done that for a long time, right? And when you help somebody do something and they pick it up and are feeling confident, you leave that call with swagger, right? You leave that Zoom meeting or whatever else, right? It's powerful, right? And I think the part that I don't enjoy, none of us really enjoy, is all of that. No one wants to be in spreadsheet hell, right? No one wants to be in the middle of a 4-sheet Google sheet that they're having to get rid of all the duplicates and find all of the oddly named things and all that kind of stuff. Nobody wants to be cleaning up that data, right? I think good AI will do that kind of stuff for us, right? Good AI will be able to find the right information. I think that I think Jeff's right. If we all used that, we could have skipped all of this. And what would that mean? Like, a lot more success for people, a lot more seeing people thrive in what they're great at.
A lot more time for swagger.
So, yes. Swag.
All right, well, we have reached the end, and that is the end of this season of Video Voyagers Edge of AI. Thank you so much for joining us. throughout all of these episodes. If you haven't watched all of them or listened to all of them, please go back. And I hope that some of these clips entice you to go check out some of the ones that you might have missed. Anyway, thank you so much.
Until next time, we'll see you later.
If you'd like to learn how customer success and customer education leaders are using video to scale their support efforts, how AI and automation plays into their day-to-day, and what video technology your competitors are investing in, check out the newly released 2023 State of SaaS Customer Success and Product Training Videos Report. You can find it on our website at videate.io. Don't forget to subscribe. Video Voyagers Edge of AI is powered by Videate, the #1 trailblazer in the world of video AI and automation. With Videate, it's fast and easy to create, update, and globalize your video library with every new software release. Learn more on our website at videate.io. Keep up to date with technology's role in shaping the future of customer experience. Search for Video Voyagers on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to stuff. And don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review if you like us, but not if you don't, and stay tuned for more. See you next time.